I want to ask you this question. It is around, and because of international time differences, we've just had the 23rd anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. I covered them as a journalist. I did a 12-hour shift. We had someone, I was in New Zealand, we had someone at Ground Zero watching it and ringing back to us just by pure chance. And I travelled to Europe the next day for 6 weeks, all over Europe, watching the world's reaction to it. We've had an interesting session on my show this morning asking people who didn't believe it happened or asked questions. I understand that you have asked questions. What is your view on 9/11 and what happened?
It's not a view. It's just that there are certain things that happened on that day that we've never gotten answers for. I mean, there's no question 9/11 happened. If we're talking about did the towers get hit by a plane? That's no question. I mean, that you can see in broad daylight. There have been so many questions that have not been answered. I mean, it's sort of like when you get into
Give me one or two.
JFK. We all know our president.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Give me one or two questions.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
Well, what we know for a fact, which was reported on the day of 9/11, was that there was an instant messaging service that was called Otago, and a company that was working in the towers called Otago, which received a prior warning that the attack was going to happen, and they were all able to clear out. And the vice president of that company spoke out on the news and said he doesn't know why they received the warning, and the FBI was looking into that. And then that just went, the trail just went cold. They never followed up.
Candace, it never really happened. It was a false report.
No, it was an accurate report. They never said it didn't happen. They just never picked back up the story.
Who said it did happen?
The actual vice president of the company, who they all survived the attack because they got the warning.
And where was that reported?
I can spell that company for you.
Yeah.
Odigo. It was reported in Haaretz. It was reported in the Jerusalem Post. It was reported in CNN. It was reported in ABC News.
Okay, all right.
It was mainstream media.
Organizations. Okay.
Yeah. So there are questions that people would just like to have answered because it impacted all of us. That day is seared into all of our memory, and we should want every single answer. 3,000 Americans.
Would you agree with the narrative, though? It was Osama bin Laden, the Islamic Brotherhood. It was jihadists. It was Muslim terrorists who were the primary movers behind it.
Well, there's no question that it was a terrorist attack. I mean, there's no question that it was a terrorist attack. And I think another big question that we have, though, is we were told that the Saudis did it, and then we went to war with Iraq. That's another
America
huge question mark where you go.
America goes to war with people for all sorts of dodgy reasons.
I know, but that's a problem. It's the dodgy reason, and so this is why people go back. I think a lot of people are mistaken, and they think that the conspiracy theories are like, there are facts that we would like to chase down because the implications of what we've done since. But this was the big event, which led to us saying, okay, we need to go to war. It was a big war. We killed 1 million Iraqi civilians for weapons of mass destruction that we never found.
Exist.
We were told Saudis did.
Powell existed.
They never found it.
Colin Powell said it was the most shameful day of his life when he had to go and tell that big lie.
Yes.
But I come back and I'm going to hold you to answer this question. Do you believe that 9/11 was a terrorist attack perpetrated by Middle Eastern terrorists, jihadi terrorists, led by an organisation fundamentally led by Osama bin Laden?
I fully believe that it was a attack that was orchestrated by the Middle East, and I think the questions that are lingering is what other countries knew and whether or not there was involvement, whether or not there were people in America who had prior notice about it. So I guess, are there more people who were involved would be the question marks that I think are still lingering, and they'd be very easy to answer by just, telling us, getting to the bottom of that story of the prior warning that people received and the people that left that day.
You're not telling me it was some Jewish conspiracy? Some Israeli conspiracy?
A Jewish conspiracy?
Yeah, or Zionist conspiracy?
Zionist conspiracy, no, but Otago was an Israeli company. That's part is a fact.
I am going to look into Otago.
They could have just had intelligence and knew because they had intelligence. That could mean nothing or everything. That could mean we have intelligence agencies in the UK. We could know something, and we share information between intelligence agencies. And so, everybody understands what happened on 9/11 actually happened. There's nobody here that thinks that 9/11 was an event that did not take place.
Yeah.